Good evening and welcome to our GCSE options evening to give you some advice about option choices. Can I welcome both people from inside the school and outside the school, and I hope you find this evening interesting. I'm just going to focus on a couple of things. Firstly, Year 9s, the pupils, and then secondly, the parents. The pupils, this is probably one of the first times that you will be involved in an educational decision. It won't be the last time, but you are moving from being sort of children, if you like, to adults, and your parents will be, obviously, you'll be heavily consulted in this. Please listen to them for their experience, and please listen to the staff for the advice they give. But also, please remember that you are unique. You have a unique set of fingerprints, and this is preparation for your life. So it's really important that you do the things that you enjoy, and you do that and you're well informed. I'm going to hand over to Lara Dale in a moment, who's our head of senior school, and she's going to take you through some of the details, and I will get back to you a bit later on when I can wash up and say a little bit more about Cranley. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome from me. Before I launch into the finer details of GCSEs, the first thing I want to say is that I think this should be an exciting time for our Year 9s. As Mr. Wilson has just said, it's the first time that they can make some choices about their curriculum and what they study. For some students, they'll know exactly what they want to continue with and what they want to drop. Others may have less idea or be a bit worried about having to make a choice and then wanting to change. So I think the main message from me to the Year 9s is to enjoy the process and not to get too stressed. I don't think any combination of subjects that you choose can lead to life-changing consequences for your future, not at this level anyway. And even if you drop a subject, but decide in Year 11 that actually you wanted to do it at an A-level in it, it's not ideal, but in some cases it is possible to reselect a subject. Although, to be honest, it's quite rare that this happens anyway. What is important is that your choices are well informed and made because you have thought about it, because you enjoy the subject, and because you think you're going to be happy and successful in doing the 2-year course. So tonight's format is that I'm going to provide an introduction to GCSEs and to basically articulate what is in the GCSE information booklet that you have access to, which is on the website. There's then going to be time for a Q&A session with members from the leadership team, and you can pick up on anything that I've missed or perhaps not made very clear. So to start, a bit of an introduction to GCSEs in the round. The British system examines formally at 16 years old and then at 18, although obviously the ages are an average rather than an actual requirement. The first set of qualifications they receive are the GCSEs. And these are planned as 2-year courses, and students receive a 9-to-1 grade in each subject taken. GCSEs are highly regarded and they're internationally recognised. So a word on the GCSE and I, or International GCSE. GCSEs are designed for students who are living in the UK. The iGCSE version has been adapted to suit international students. So rather than having quite niche and culturally specific content and exam questions, the iGCSE can ensure that the content doesn't disadvantage you because you aren't British. The content is basically a little bit more international and perhaps a bit more global. But they are of equal rigor, they're of equal status, and they're very similar. So in terms of qualification, there's no difference at all. And really, from your point of view, it's actually quite insignificant whether it is an iGCSE or GCSE. Ultimately, it is the same qualification, and it's the heads of department who have made choices as to which course is better for our students. So all subjects are graded on the 9-to-1 scale. I say all, but rather amusingly, the only subject retaining the old A* to G grading is Latin, the classical language, perhaps being a little late to modernise. And actually, I want to take this opportunity to highlight that achieving an 8 is a fantastic result. You don't always have to be thinking in terms of 9s as the be-all and end-all. Obviously, we deeply encourage high aspirations, but the 9 was introduced as a platinum standard. So the top grades are really 7 and above, the A to A star in old currency. And we're looking also at the 4 for a standard pass and a 5 for a strong pass. Some of you might be querying the range of exam boards. As with GCSE versus IGCSE, from your point of view, there is very little significance. A GCSE from Edexcel Pearson is the same as a GCSE from the AQA board. Again, heads of department are making choices based on subject content, their own experiences with the exam board, perhaps what the board offers in terms of access to past papers, and even the student-teacher support that each board offers. And this can really sort of differ and vary from subject to subject. So the exam board shouldn't affect your choices at all. We publish it so you have knowledge and can research the syllabus online for yourselves. So as you'll have gathered, there are compulsory subjects that students must gain a GCSE in, and then there are the subjects that students can choose to gain a GCSE in. In line with the UK, with the exception of Arabic, the subjects on the screen are a compulsory British curriculum requirement. Arabic is, of course, a requirement of the Ministry of Education, and I'll explain a little bit more about this in just a minute. It's worth saying at this point that maths for a small group of very able mathematicians will sit GCSE a year early in year 10. We have about 16 students in this year's year 10 cohort, and we have a number of students in year 9 currently who are in the accelerated maths group, and they're preparing for the possibility of sitting maths GCSE next year. However, not sitting early does not make you unable to pursue maths at A level. Ultimately, if you achieve a strong 7 or above at GCSE, you will be able to continue with maths in the 6th form if you choose. The science pathways I'm going to explain in just a minute, and I'm just going to head into Arabic and give a bit of an explanation around that. If Arabic is your first language, then you have to continue with Arabic throughout your school years. You will work towards preparation for the Ministry of Education's examinations, which are compulsory. Some of you may want to take Arabic GCSE as well, and that's optional. For our non-native students, where Arabic isn't your first language, you will definitely continue with Arabic into year 10, and you will follow the ministry's course, which is good preparation for GCSE too. If you don't want to take it at GCSE, then you will have the choice to drop the subject in year 11. But those of you who want to do something with your studies in Arabic, you can choose to continue and work towards the GCSE in year 11. If you don't continue to study Arabic in year 11, then you will gain 3 independent study periods each week in that year. So I've touched on science having some options, and I will do my best to explain this now. There are 3 different options, but regardless of the choice, students have the same number of lessons of science per week. So we have the triple science pathway. This is really only for very able scientists, and I say that because it's very quick-paced, it's lots of independent study, as you have less timetable time. In fact, you cover 3 GCSEs worth of material in the same time that others do 2 GCSEs worth of material. And so with the triple science pathway, you take physics, you take biology and chemistry, and in turn you attain 3 GCSEs, 1 for each science. You could instead choose to take the 2 science pathway. This, as it says, is 2 sciences, and you choose the 2 sciences which you like best, and you will gain a GCSE in each of those. In previous years, we haven't actually offered biology and chemistry as a combination, just physics and biology and physics and chemistry. This was because our Emirati students and anyone else seeking equivalency couldn't study this combination. However, the rules for equivalency have changed. Only this Thursday just gone have we had information from the ministry. So we are looking into offering all the combinations for the double science as an option. So whether it's physics and biology, biology and chemistry and so forth. However, I can't guarantee that we will be offering the biology and chemistry just yet. I need to just double check the timetabling and the blocks, and we will confirm as soon as possible, but we are very much looking into this. I'm also going to ask Ms. Kelleher in just a minute to come on and explain the equivalency certification a little later. Finally, we have the dual award science, which is where students study all three sciences, but in slightly less depth. Some of you might know this option by its other name of combined science. I think it's important to stress that this dual award is accepted by all universities. Many of the top private schools, in fact, in the UK, only offer triple award or this dual award. So there are many students who do take this pathway. And certainly those who achieve top marks in the dual award can go on to be successful A-level scientists too. Either way, if you take the triple award route, you attain 3 separate GCSEs. In the 2 science route, you attain 2 GCSEs. And for the dual award, you get a double GCSE, which equates to 2 GCSEs, but they're always graded at the same number. So for example, you might get graded a 6-6 or a 7-7, but it is recognized as 2 GCSE grades. Your science teacher will be able to advise you on the best pathway to take. And so I suggest that this is a conversation that you have on Wednesday night at the teacher-parent meetings with your science teachers. So moving on to the option blocks, and for the year 9s, this is where it gets interesting. This bit of the presentation is about the optional subjects, and this is where you have the freedom, I guess, to be in the driving seat of your timetable next year. So on top of the compulsory subjects, students will choose some subjects so that they are working towards 8 or 9 GCSEs. As you'll appreciate, we have to timetable for the whole school. We have to make sure that all lessons have a teacher and a classroom. And so it means we can't offer every single combination under the sun. So as with all schools, the timetable is blocked. And this means that the subjects which from GCSE onwards are optional, these are put into blocks, and we'll ask you to choose just one subject from each of the 3 blocks. To increase the chances of you being able to study the combination of subjects that you want, we've placed some subjects into more than one block. And this is to give as much flexibility of choice as possible. But I do need to clarify, you choose a different subject from each block. As I said earlier, we received information from the ministry on Thursday, just gone, about the requirements of students seeking equivalency. And so I've put subject to change on this slide because we may be able to provide even more flexibility than previous years in light of this updated information. And so I don't want to confirm the blocks just yet. I'm now going to pause here, and I'm going to ask Ms. Kelleher to come onto screen. Ms. Kelleher, as our Careers and Futures lead, she's the go-to on equivalency information, and she ensures that students who require it leave Cranleigh with the correct subjects and the correct qualifications. So Ms. Kelleher, if I can hand over to you, and if you can run through the key details, that would be very helpful, and it might make a change from my voice for a bit.
Thank you, Ms. Dale. Good evening, everybody. We feel it's important at this point in time, as Year 9s are making these choices, to make sure that you're aware of what equivalency is. You may also know this as Shahad al-Thanawiyya, if my Arabic pronunciation is correct. And it is a requirement from the Ministry of Education for Emirati students to attend university and also to receive what's known as going on mission, which is permission to go to university abroad. So it is very important for our Emirati students. But please don't worry, in Year 9, whilst you're making these decisions, we have actually structured our curriculum and our option blocks to ensure you will achieve equivalency. If you are not Emirati, but you are Arab or from an Arab nation, you may require equivalency to study in the UAE, if that's your intention, but also to study in a GCSE country or an Arab nation. So like, for example, Tunisia, Egypt, Morocco, Lebanon, Jordan, to name some of the nationalities we have in our student body. You may also need it then. It's also important to note, if you are not Emirati and also you are not Arab, you still may require equivalency to study here in the UAE or to take a governmental job in the future. This is the information that we hold from the MOE, and we are obliged to give you this information so that you're making an informed decision. At GCSE level, you're required to pass 5 GCSEs from equivalent subjects. And please do bear in mind that there are some subjects that are in fact not equivalent. So it is important that you're aware of what these subjects are. So you can see from this list here, the subjects that are starred are subjects that are not equivalent. So for example, dance and drama and Latin, so on. Please don't feel like that means you cannot choose those subjects, because obviously you're going to study 7 or 8 GCSE subjects, so you'll still have more than enough to meet equivalency. But it's just an important thing to note. And also, please do bear in mind as well that Arabic is not considered an equivalency subject. So if you're studying Arabic as a GCSE, it is not equivalent. But also, again, bear in mind, to gain equivalency, you will need to also complete the MOE Arabic and Islamic exams, which you will take in year 12 as part of a 3-year linear course with the MOE. There is so much information available on this for our internal students who are currently studying with us that are in the audience. If you go to the Careers VLE page, if you go to Careers and Futures through the Senior School section, you'll find a button on there called MSAT, Equivalency and ADEC Requirements. Please do feel free to work your way through this information. And if you have any questions, of course, ask me. And of course, for our external and prospective students in the audience, if you do have questions, please do get in contact with me and I'll be happy to help you navigate this. I'd also like to take a final moment just to guide all of our parents and students that are viewing right now to please do take some time to look at the Careers VLE, because there's never been a more important time than now to have a look at your future. Please do explore the options that are there, because this may well inform your choices. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kelleher. Thank you for taking the time to explain something that sounds quite complex, but actually, I think the information is there, and we will guide all our students to make sure that they are attaining the equivalency certificate if they need it. So, as Ms. Kelleher has said, these are all the optional subjects, and most students will choose 3 from that list. For the vast majority of students, the combination of the 3 subjects that you want to study will be available. However, if you do find that your preferred subject combination isn't available, then you will be able to note this on the Google Choices form that I will provide you in due course. And once all the students have completed their choices form, then we will be in a position to assess the possibility of offering a requested combination if it does fall outside the blocks. I think it's important to say that on the rare occasions when students don't get an exact combination of subjects as initially desired, it's not the end of the world, and students very much settle into their second choice, and they often forget about the disappointment very quickly. You will see that the HPQ is on offer, but in italics. The HPQ is a precursor to the highly regarded EPQ. It's a higher project qualification and the extended project qualification. And the EPQ is something that our sixth formers work towards. It's suitable for a range of students, but I'm going to ask Rory Gallagher to explain a little more about the HPQ prior to the question and answer session. So I created this slide to help visually represent what a Year 10 timetable includes and how this equates to the GCSE tally. And I think it's important to say here and to promote the old adage of quality over quantity. For a while, there was a bit of a fashion for youngsters to achieve reams of GCSEs. So you had students studying for 10, 11, sometimes even more subjects. Fortunately, the tide has completely changed, and the majority of students should be taking about 8 or 9 GCSEs. And you should be aiming to get the best possible grades in those subjects. It's of far more value that you get fewer GCSEs, but with the top grades, than lots of GCSEs with average grades. A good grade at GCSE and the solid foundation that a good grade means, this sets you up really well for advanced level study in that subject once you head into Year 12. And of course, we also want to encourage students to be taking CCAs and broadening their horizons outside the classroom as well as in. So what next? Really, it's a case of students reviewing the information in the booklet, talking to their teachers and their tutors, and of course, taking advantage of Wednesday's teacher-parent evening to ask specific, subject-specific questions and to get more of a feel of whether this subject is for you. The big questions, I think, are, do you enjoy the subject? And might you want to continue with it at A-level? So as soon as we have confirmed the option blocks for next year, I will communicate via email and send you the Google Choices form. We're likely to set a deadline for the return of the Choices form by the end of this term, as this will help us to start timetabling for next year and organising around your choices. So thank you very much for listening. It's been a bit of a marathon. I hope it has been helpful. I'm going to hand over to Tim McConnell-Wood now, Vice Principal, and he's going to compare a question and answer session. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody, and I hope you found that very useful and informative. Certainly there's an awful lot of information in there to try and take in all in a oneer. So the idea is that we'll have a bit of time now for you to ask any questions that you have. What you will note whether you're watching this on Facebook or on YouTube, in the chat function, there is the opportunity to ask questions. So please do type your questions in. I've got a whole team of people who are there watching, and they will then start feeding the questions through to me. So please do, if you have got any questions, do ask. We've got a panel in the backstage, a team from the senior school, Mr. Rory Gallagher, who is the senior housemaster and head of EPQ. We've got Miss Liz Kelleher, who is assistant head and also head of careers and futures. Mr. Matt McNaught, who's also assistant head, and Miss Jo Lee, who is the director of performing arts. So we've got a good team here to help you with any questions that you have. So before we get going on with actual questions, what I'd like to do, as Ms. Dale just indicated, I'd like to bring Mr. Rory Gallagher on, who is head of EPQ, just to ask the question and pose the question to you, Rory. How do I know if the HPQ is the right option for my child?
First of all, welcome everyone. It's a very exciting time for your children, for our students, making these choices, as Miss Dale was saying. And the HPQ is a new option at Cranleigh. We've started it this year, and we're very excited to be offering this as a follow-up to our extended project qualification, which is going extremely well in the sixth form. So basically, the higher project qualification is accessible to all levels. That is one of the things that's I think is probably the best thing about it. You can do it as an artifact, producing something, be it a video or a work of art or a performance or a dissertation, more like an essay style. It's accessible in the sense that although it's an independent research project, the team of teachers working with the students will mentor them through this process and support them to develop their projects. So I think it's available to all of our students. And in fact, the cohort we have this year doing HPQ in year 10 have a wide variety of different passions and abilities, and they're loving it, all of them. And I do believe that it's available to everyone, be it from extension to moving on almost towards EPQ level, or to completing the project to get the HPQ qualification. So there we are. It's a new one, probably for most of you. And do please get in touch with me if you have any more specific questions after this evening, and I'll be very happy to answer those questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Rory. Just if I could just keep you there for a moment, please. On the screen, it said that the HPQ stands for half a GCSE. What does that actually mean?
So the higher project qualification is a level 2 qualification, meaning that it's assessed at the same academic level as a GCSE. So its value academically is the same as a GCSE. In terms of the quantity, it was worth half a GCSE, which means it usually takes just 1 year or just over 1 year to complete it. So the goal with the HPQ is to complete the majority of the project in year 10 and submit it in the first term of year 11.
Super. Thanks very much indeed. For the next question, I'm going to ask Matt McNaught to come on screen for us. It's a good question that's arisen out of the discussion about the various options for science. Question is, can you offer the biology, chemistry together since they're required for medical fields at university?
Good evening. Oh, yeah, a great question, and something we've done historically and indeed would look to do in the future is encourage those looking to explore a career in medicine to take our triple award. So that gives you the combination of biology and chemistry that you're looking for, but it also gives you the extra GCSE in physics, which is excellent for building up your CV and your applications to universities, in particular if you're applying for medicine.
That's great. Thank you very much. Yes, I think really on that, certainly I've been involved in education for over 25 years now, and certainly all the students who've been looking to go to medicine have, without fail, done the triple award or done the 3 discrete subjects for GCSE, and I would say that that's really a prerequisite. Absolutely. Another question, if I can, I'm going to ask a couple of questions to. Oh, apologies. I'm just going to go back. Matt, while I've got you here, the question is, do you recommend still taking 8 subjects? Oh, Matt's disappeared. Maybe Matt will come back, maybe he won't. If he doesn't come back, I'm going to ask the next question then to Liz Kelleher, who is Assistant Head and Head of Futures. No, Matt's back. Hello, Matt, sorry. Just quick question, do you still recommend taking 8 subjects?
Yes, initially we would like all students to outline 8 choices when they're selecting what they want at GCSE. Looking forward into year 11, we reassess where students are at, and we often have students who will drop a GCSE and pick up extra core lessons once they know specifically what they want to do future into their applications for university. So initially, yes, the answer is we would like them to select 8, and then we review in year 11.
Okay, that's super. Thanks very much. I'm still, while you're there, and I brought Liz in as well, just a few questions that between you might be able to answer. First one really is to do with GCSE English. Does the English language and literature count as 1 GCSE?
I'm so glad that question was asked, because I don't get to tell students this enough. First of all, bonus, you get to take 2 GCSEs at once. So you get 2 separate GCSEs in English language and English literature. But for all students, and please hear this, if your passport is not from a country where English is your first language, that GCSE certificate in English language is so, so important. And you really need to be trying to achieve at least a level 6 in English language, because your university will request that certificate from you as proof of English language proficiency. If you get above a 7, you might save yourself some money as well, because you may not need to do an English proficiency exam. So do bear in mind, English language is super, super important if English isn't your first language by your passport.
That's great. Thanks very much. If I can just talk to the audience for a second. If you have got questions, please do keep them coming, because it then avoids us having to have a really long pause where we're waiting for something to say. And we really do want to give you as much information as we possibly can this evening. A couple of questions have come in about sort of to do with timings. When do we need to pick our GCSEs? So what's the time frame on this? If I could direct that to Ms. Kelleher.
The word need is an interesting word in that sentence. The reality is need, obviously, by the time you need to start them. But students are already going through processes to help them pick their GCSEs. This has actually been happening for over a month now. Communication will go home to parents in the next week or so, advertising the option blocks and what students are going to choose from. And then finally, in the last week of term, we'll be asking parents to help their children choose their GCSEs. But as Ms. Dale has mentioned earlier as well, please don't see this as a fait accompli, okay? You will have more opportunities to change if you need to, okay? And we will help you make the best possible choices. So yes, the word need is a bit flexible. But by the end of this term, hopefully we'll have a fair idea of what people are choosing.
Thanks, Liz. And sort of slightly on the same line of timelines, if you take a GCSE early, so for example, if you're doing maths a year early, do you then have free periods to study?
I'll take that one. I see we were battling for that one. I can take that one. We would recommend that you still select the 8 GCSEs. We have lots of students, Miss Dale was mentioning, that take early GCSEs, in particular mathematics, and our languages are taken early. And those students go on to still take the full selection of 8 subjects. The more we collect at a GCSE, the better. As I mentioned before, we do review in year 11. And again, if it's your choice that you don't want to carry that GCSE through to the examinations, then you can opt to drop that. But initially, yes, we would want you to take them, and we wouldn't offer study periods in those option blocks.
Thanks very much. I'm going to ask if the IT team can take you two off and bring on Joe Lee, our Director of Performing Arts. And hopefully, Joe, that you can hear this as you're coming on. Welcome. Good evening. Can you give about choosing the option subjects? Because clearly there's a huge combination of subjects that students could pick. How do you go about doing that?
Good evening, everybody. Yes, this is such an exciting time, and there are all those subjects that are the compulsory subjects that you will have to take. But to my mind, the most exciting choice that you have to choose is which options are you going to pick. And you will have all your teachers ready to give advice about this. Your parents will give advice. You can talk to pupils who are currently taking these subjects at GCSE already and get their insight into these things. We can help pair you up if that's what you would like. My absolute groundbreaking essential tip would be, please pick something that you really enjoy. Pick the subject that when you see it on your timetable for your year 10 timetable, you will go, oh, it's amazing that I get to study this subject 3 times a week. If you think about subjects like DT, art, drama, computer science, at the moment, we only are allowed to teach you for 1 lesson a week. When you get to GCSE level, you will be taking those subjects 3 times a week. And that is something that you really want to look forward to and be really excited about. So when you see music on your timetable, you go, oh my goodness, I get to take music 3 times a week. I get to take drama or dance 3 times a week. And you can really enjoy those subjects. For all of the options, the key thing is transferable skills. You will develop skills within any of these subjects that you will be able to apply to further education, to university life in the future. So there isn't a subject that will hold you back. You should really choose at this stage what you are excited and passionate about. Thank you, Mr. McConnell-Wood.
Super. Thanks very much, Joe. I'm going to ask Rory Gallagher to come back on, because I've just had a follow-up question about the HPQ. Rory, could you just explain how you can get more information on the HPQ, please? Because it's not known to many people.
Sure. So, of course, first of all, on the website and on the information brochure, you'll find a little bit of information and a link to the exam board specification. But I think the easiest option is probably to get in contact with me through the school, and I'd be very happy to talk you through any further information. If that's for students in school, I can see one of the students asked that question. Please do give me a shout in school, and I'll try and arrange a meeting with you. And for parents, just give me a shout. Thanks very much.
Thank you. I'm going to go back to the assistant heads team. There've been a couple of questions about sort of dropping subjects and picking subjects up. And I'm just going to sort of not in any particular order. If a student took a GCSE in year 9, so I'm assuming this would be a native speaker of a foreign language that they were doing, would you still recommend 8 in year 10? I think we sort of half answered that question. Matt, do you just want to pick that up again, please?
Yeah, hi, Tim. Sorry, just to clarify, the question was if they've done an early entry language in year 9, should they continue and take 8 GCSEs? Yeah, I think the key message to get out here is quality, not quantity. But we would still recommend that they take those 8, even if they haven't, even if they've done the early entry, in year 9. So as I mentioned before, still select the 8. We'll review again in year 11 to see where they're at. But it's not about how many, it's about what you prefer doing and how well you'll do in those subjects.
Thanks. And you're a complete GCSE. Is there an option to do a higher level maths in the year 11?
I think I can take that one again. So traditionally, our early entry math students, yes, they take the higher math. So that is what needs to happen, because if you've already done the GCSE, then you'll need to take the higher maths once you've done that early entry at year 9.
Oh, hello everyone. I think I've been replaced. I'm replacing Tim McConnell-Wood whilst his connection is not so strong. So just picking up on some of the questions that are still coming in. We've got another one, Mr. McNaught, coming in about combined science. Can you just talk us through a little bit about the double award science? And the question is whether it's considered as one subject. So maybe you can just give a bit of background around the combined dual award science.
Yeah, dual award science is still a study of biology, chemistry, and physics, and the students would receive 2 lessons per week of each of those subjects. So 2 biology, 2 chemistry, 2 physics. The differences between triple and double is they will both study the same content to a point. So the double award scientists will sit what we call paper 1 material, and that's the identical exam to the triple awards paper 1. Triple that would then continue and in the 3 subjects into some more depth, and they sit a second paper in chemistry, biology, and physics, and the double award do not sit that second paper. So it's still a study of the 3 sciences and 2 lessons per week of each.
Okay. Thank you. And again, this is something that can be picked up at the teacher-parent meetings on Wednesday. Do speak to your science teachers about the options and about what might be suitable for you. And those decisions can be made in conjunction with your science teachers. Thanks, Matt. I'm going to hand over to Liz now. A couple of questions for you. There's been a comment made about students dropping subjects in year 11 if for some reason they can't cope. Can you explain a little bit more about what is meant by this?
Sure, and be careful with that word drop, because we never encourage students just to drop something. It's more so to solidify their chances of achieving the best possible grades. So kind of linking back to something that Matt has said already, we want quality grades over quantity, and that's really important as well. With my careers and futures hat on, the better grades are always better than more grades. So if in consultation with our SEN team, if we decide that a student is not coping based on their attainment and their enjoyment of subjects and the progress that they are making, we'll meet with the SEN team and we will decide if it's in the student's best interest to drop a subject, and then they will then work with the SEN team and some of our other teachers to use that time more effectively to improve their grades in their other option choices to achieve the best possible grades. Because as Lara has mentioned earlier in the presentation as well, some students take 8, some take 9, some take 7. It's all okay as long as you're meeting equivalency and you are also getting those best possible grades moving forward.
I think it's also important to say that in the main, most students start on a program of study that has been very well thought through. It's been discussed with their tutor. It's been discussed with the academic team, with my team. We scrutinise every decision and all the choices coming in, and we do our best to make sure that students start the program of study which is most appropriate for them in the first instance. So again, as we keep saying, it's really about making well-informed choices about the subjects which you enjoy. We will help make sure that you're making appropriate choices. And in the first instance, it will be looking at making a choice of 3 optional subjects and not really considering how many subjects that gives you at the end. It's more about the package at the end and the quality of grades that you get at the end of year 11. Liz, if you can stay on, please, and I'm just going to ask another question that's come up, which I think you can answer well. Do we retake the exams if we fail?
Cranley, we don't fail at Cranley, do we? No, certainly we would, as Ms. Dale has just explained and tied back to the answer that I've just given as well, we try to put students into a position of success if on a real outlier occasion that you happened to fail, you cannot retake it straight away. There is no repeat of an exam series. But what you could do, if it was a subject that you really passionately wanted to achieve a grade in, you could be entered in it in the next exam series the next year. We have had situations in the past where, for example, a student hasn't achieved the grade that they wanted to in GCSE math, so they retook it the next year to achieve a higher grade. But do bear in mind, you shouldn't really be thinking about doing that, because obviously that's going to impact on your A-level studies as you're trying to restudy for a GCSE at the same time as taking your A-levels. But like we've talked about already, please rest assured that we fully intend to have all students in a position where they are not going to fail their GCSEs.
Absolutely. I'm going to give you one last question, Liz, and then I think I'm going to disappear and hand back over to Mr. McConnell-Wood, who's very, very good in the role of comparing these question and answers, if the connection is actually working. So, Liz, final question for the moment, I dare say. Can you talk about GCSE choices and the connection with university courses? Students are asking, or parents are asking, where you can find links to find out which courses match best with universities.
Sure. And to link back to something that Jolie has alluded to already earlier as well, please choose subjects on the basis of what you enjoy, what you're passionate about, and the skills that they develop. Please do not get too caught up at this stage in GCSE choosing subjects because you think they're necessary for career X, Y, or Z, because usually the required subjects lie among the sciences, English language, as I've said already, and math, all subjects that are mandatory that you take. So it's not something to get too caught up in right now. But however, if this is something that you want to research and you want to start looking towards A-level choices and what are the prerequisites for universities, I highly recommend that students, along with their parents, sit down and use the UniFrog platform. This is a platform that we use almost every day in the senior school, and it allows students to explore exactly this information, and you'll find all of the prerequisite requirements for any university course through there.
Great, thank you. I'm hoping that I'm back.
You are.
Excellent. Excellent. I'm going to ask if I could get Jolie on screen, please. And got a question for you, Joe, here. Could you just tell us a little bit more, because we focused a lot on the science and the maths. Could you tell us a little bit more about performing arts opportunities at GCSE?
Yes, with absolute pleasure. So as GCSE subjects, we offer drama, music and dance as performing arts options. And one of the things that has very much evolved over the years is that these option subjects are in separate blocks. And this is a prime example of where the voice of the students has been taken into account. When we first started offering GCSE subjects at Cranleigh, drama and dance, for instance, were placed within the same option block. And it was through student voice for pupils who wanted to take 2 or even 3 of these subjects that meant that they are in different option blocks. So it's designed in such a way to give that flexibility that you can choose, if you are passionate about performing arts, you could choose more than one of the performing arts subjects. Beyond the GCSE option choices, we really, really encourage all of our senior school students, both in year 9, as you know, but as well year 10, year 11 and in sixth form, to get involved with the wider offerings of the Performing Arts Department. So we are hoping, fingers crossed, by the time you guys arrive into year 10, we will be back to fully being able to offer all the CCAs that we are so very proud of, the extended workshops for our pupils, the different trips to NYU, being able to offer the ensembles, the choirs, as well as the musicals and the concerts that we so enjoy. So we very, very much hope that you remain as passionate, as involved, and you're a very special year group to us. I said this when you progressed from year 8 into year 9. You guys are the year group who started back in year 3 studying drama, music and dance. You are the pupils who have progressed all the way through the prep school and now in year 9 and are now at the point of choosing your GCSE subjects and being able to enjoy the full benefit of our cross-curricular or our co-curricular offerings. And it is with huge excitement that Performing Arts Department welcome you into this new chapter, because you are the most qualified of any pupils we have ever had in the history of Cranleigh. So yes, be it within the subject choices or within the co-curricular offerings, we very much hope that you will remain part of the Performing Arts Department.
I'm terribly sorry for starting to giggle there. That was a wonderful sales job, Joe. Well done. Excellent. Actually quite connected to what you just said about all the co-curricular stuff. The question is if we don't take a class with for GCSE, do we stop studying that subject? Are there any other subjects we do? And I think it's quite a good question, because it's a very big change for as you go from year 9 through into year 10 with the GCSE subjects. So if I could just ask you that, Joe, is there any other core part of the curriculum that students do?
Absolutely. The exception to the GCSE options is PE. You will continue to have PE as part of your timetable, regardless of whether you take that as a GCSE option or whether you don't. So PE would be the only exception to the rule, that you will have that as part of your fitness and well-being program moving forwards to GCSE. But apart from that, unless you choose that option for your GCSE selection, then you won't be studying it anymore.
That's right. And of course, the only other subject that is compulsory that you wouldn't necessarily do a GCSE in year 10 is Arabic. So you'd also do your Arabic course as well. But otherwise, no, your entire timetable is then taken up with the subjects you've elected to do at GCSE. Thanks very much, Joe. I'm going to ask if Matt McNaught could come back on screen. And I think this is a good question that Miss Dale alluded to earlier on. What happens if I just can't get my selected combination or my preferred?
Mr. McConnell, you're frozen again there, but I think I got the gist of what you're asking. So if you can't get your preferred combination of 3 subjects from the blocks that we currently have, then that's not a concern to worry about at this point. You'll be given the opportunity to let us know what your preferences are. So when we send out the forms, one of the questions would say exactly that. If the options aren't there, let us know what you'd like to do. Once all the students submit their options, we review those, and then we review the blocks that we put out. And wherever possible, we make the adjustments to accommodate those preferences.
Mr. McNaught, can you still hear us?
Yes.
Okay, you might have to repeat a few sentences back, please.
Okay, so I'll repeat the question. The question, I think, from Mr. McConnell was, what if I can't get my 3 options from the slides that we presented earlier, where we outlined the 3 blocks? So if you can't select 3 options, you've got a different preference or combination of 3. When we send out the forms for you to request your options, there will be a question that says, if you can't get your options from the 3, what would you like to do? That question then we will review once all students have put in, and we'll look at the blocks that we're offering. If necessary, we'll make the adjustments to accommodate.
Thanks, Matt. I think we're going to just have a last couple of questions before I hand over to Mike Wilson. And Matt, just staying on the screen, and hopefully your connection is going to hold out. We've just got another question coming in about the sciences. I know you've already explained this, but can you just very quickly summarize the number of GCSEs you get depending on which science pathway you take? So if you take the dual science option, how many GCSEs do you get?
Okay, yeah, no problem. I'll start with dual award science. So I did mention that you study all 3 sciences. It does seem a little confusing when you study all 3 sciences, but with dual award, you only receive 2 GCSEs or IGCSEs. With triple award, you would get 3. And then if you're to choose combinations of 2, you get a GCSE for each of those. So if you do physics, chemistry, you'll get 2 GCSEs, 1 for each.
And I think it's important to point out again that it's not the number of GCSEs that's most significant. It's actually making sure that you're choosing the right pathway for you. If you're someone who really wants to, you already know that science is very much in your heart. It's probably in your future in terms of the A-level subjects you want to be doing. You might already be considering a medicine pathway and so forth. Then triple science is something you will want to consider, and you'll want to talk to your teachers to make sure that that's an appropriate pathway for you, and you can be successful in those 3 subjects in the time provided. Again, if you're not that set on the sciences, then you might want to consider a different route. My advice is really to move away from the number of GCSEs that it awards you, and really think about what is most suitable for you, for your passions, and where you're going to be successful. I'm going to ask Liz Kelleher to come back on for one final question, please. And I think this is quite a nice one to end on, because the question is there a careers counsellor that the students can meet with at this stage? And I'm laughing because I suspect your answer is going to start with what your role is with the Assistant Head of Senior post.
Yes, hi, I'm Liz Kelleher, Assistant Head of Senior and Careers and Futures. So I am that person. So I am that person that will work with the students or your children in this regard. And if you are a current family at Cranleigh, you will already know that we put huge emphasis on our tutoring system. And I work very, very closely with the tutors to make sure that they have all of the information they need to help your children through this process. So they would be your child's first port of call, but you can rest assured the answers that they are giving to your children come through me. Also, for the past month, your child has heard my voice an awful lot, because one of the major bonuses of current circumstances means that I can get to a lot of children at the same time via Google Meet and via the resources we're using. So I'm very involved with your children at this point. We also have something called the Ask It Basket, which is a platform which your children can ask me questions directly, and then I reply to them through that, and the tutors help disseminate that information. But of course, in the event, if your child really feels like they want a one-to-one to discuss what their future looks like, of course, I'm more than happy to have a meeting with both parents and students.
Thank you, Ms. Kelleher. And I think looking at the time, we're going to draw it to an end there. If there are still any questions that you have unanswered, please do feel free to direct them towards me or to any member of my team. We've all got appointments slots on Wednesday, so even if I don't teach your child, then you can make an appointment with me, and I can help you there. Or hopefully when we get email up and running, then any questions that come to the tutors, and if they can't help you, then they will be directed towards my team. So help is very much on hand. And I probably go round to just saying and to reminding all our students in the audience that this is an exciting time. There's no absolute rush to make your decisions. And even when you do complete your option choices form, if in the weeks or months to come you start to think, I'm not quite sure, then your tutors are there to still guide you, and we can have conversations, and it doesn't have to be set in stone at all. I'm going to bring, I hope Mr. Wilson is going to come on and is going to be brought on in just a minute to give the final closing words. And here he is, and I'm going to hand over to Mr. Wilson. Many thanks, and have a very good evening from me.
Thank you, and thank you to all of those involved this evening for the excellent advice. I'm just going to point towards a couple of things. Firstly, because I think it's important for both internal and external people. If you're a student from outside and you want to know more, please can you get in touch with our admissions department, and we can put you in touch with any of those people who talked tonight. There is an excellent video that's been worked through that Ms. Kelleher has produced for your children, which we will share with parents over the next couple of days, so that you can see what they're hearing in their sessions. And there's obviously the option booklet. Having said that, I'm going to take this completely away. I'm of an age where I came backwards and forwards to Cranleigh as a young teacher. I think I returned this is my 5th time. The advantage it's given me is that I have taught over 120 people who I've then seen their children through their stages of their education. Now, yes, that makes me a dinosaur, but what it does is it really, I want to address the pupils here. This GCSE process, this guidance towards exams and results is really a very, very small part of your education. What you are and the things you're interested in and the things you're excited about and the skills that you show, those are the things that you will end up doing in your life. They will come to the forefront. Part of this is navigating through an education system so that you can show your talents. So what really I'm after is I'm after the spark, I'm after the love, I'm after the excitement, and with that we can actually drive things. So don't sit there and do subjects that somebody else has told you to do. Do subjects that you really, really enjoy, because all of those things will come to fruition. I'm just going to tell a little story if I've got time. I think I've got time. A young lad called James. James was the captain of rugby at Cranley, UK, and on a Friday night he was always late back into the boarding house. What he was doing is going around his team, and he was making sure his team knew exactly what they were doing the next day during the match. On a Saturday night, he was always late back. 11 o'clock would pass. Where was James? He was going round his team, telling them how they'd done this right and this wrong. James ended up captaining England at under 20 level, but at under 20 level, he broke a fairly concise bone in his body and he couldn't play rugby. But James is now, from last count, is the HR director for Deutsche Bank worldwide. What he did is he used the skill he learnt with his rugby captaincy and his rugby and his teamwork. He used that skill in the business world. Incidentally, he's also the man that designed the breathe-through fabric on our games kit that we play matches in. That's also one of his ideas. So what I'm saying to you is trust the things that you love, trust yourself and the things you want to do, and then use the GCSE and the A-level cycle to actually as vehicles to get there. Don't at this stage get terrified by GCSE results. Some of you will do brilliantly, some of you won't. Some of you will have to work harder at the next stage or the stage above. What I'm saying is trust what you've been given and work with that. So that's my sort of parting shot on this. As I say, please contact us, tutors, obviously internally, or specifically one of the people you've seen tonight. And then if you are looking at Cranley and to join us, obviously get hold of admissions and we'll point you in the right direction from there. So thank you very much for joining us tonight.